And you have you have a lot of personal coaching in addition, because you mentor copywriters, right? Many of the women in here mentor copywriters. We have lots of copy chiefs and copy mentors in here. And so I love what you have really done in our group that's been so supportive when you've posted. So I said to her, would you talk about that? Talk about fear a little bit with us, because every time we talk about making a change, doing a thing, doing something different, trying something new, fear comes up. Yep. So, Angie Coley.
And I'm also glad that she led in with that story about how I sang, because that was the very first Copy Chief Live. And I'm no slouch. I'm a pretty accomplished performer. I had a band for several years in San Francisco. But something about this idea of performing in front of my colleagues.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, oh my God. I years of karaoke, sung in front of complete strangers. I've wiped out and flashed my ass at an audience. Like, I've done everything under the sun that I could possibly do to embarrass myself as a singer. But then I got to Copy Chief Live, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to, I'm gonna forget all the words and I don't know how to do this. I just wanted to run it out. And the funny thing is, after the performance, everybody kept coming up to me like, that performance was amazing. You know why it was amazing? I was drunk. I was so drunk that I did not care.
Courage went a long way.
Like, we started mic check at about 5 o'clock, and by the time everybody got there at like 7:30, I was already bottling. So it was just one of those nights where I was like, I'm so scared, I don't know how to, and not that I advise like medicating with booze for solving your problems, but you know, sometimes you've got to do what you got to do to just like get over the fear. And that's why I wanted to talk about fear, because you really got to see it for what it is, right? Fear is useful. How many times have you been walking alone somewhere at night and just felt like, I'm not going down that street, something is wrong? That happened to my mom once. Like, she was driving late at night, she's going to stop at an ATM, I want to say it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and she was like, something feels weird. There's like a car over there, it doesn't look like it belongs, I'm just going to go home. And there was a story like a couple days later about how someone got robbed at that ATM that she was going to stop at. Fear is useful. So stop treating fear like it's not something that can help you out. It's there for a reason. The kind of fear that's not useful is the one where you're sitting there agonizing about something that is not serving you, right? So I called it fear of the unknown. And there was this great speech that I saw by Will Smith where he was talking about going skydiving. If you look it up, it's a fantastic speech to watch. But he's like, we got all hyped up, we decided to go skydiving. In the moment, buddies are there, like, yeah, we're going to do this, it's going to be amazing. And then later that night, I'm laying in bed like, what do I do? Why am I jumping out of a plane? And here's the funny thing, like, heart racing, sweat, I'm panicking, laying safe in my bed. Nothing is actually happening to me. Like, have you realized that like usually when you're in the grips of fear, it's not that first situation where you're escaping imminent danger. It's this situation where you're not actually in danger at all. You're just psyching yourself out. Okay, so see it for what it is. It's a useful situation, and then it's an unuseful situation. You got to recognize where you're at.
Is there really a saber-toothed tiger? If there's not.
And most of the time, it's something like, do I leave my job? I'm terrified. Well, you know, as Lindsay is fond of saying, like, if you leave your job and you try to take on this freelance thing, odds are you're not going to wind up homeless under a bridge surrounded by feral cats, right? You're going to figure out something well before it comes to starving to death. So let's not treat our options like, I have to stay where I am or I will die. Because that's really not how this works, okay? So when you're trying to overcome the fear, you have to take inventory, right? And I think, especially with women, where we get a little bit stuck is planning, right? We're great planners. We have the massive bags, 50 pounds, got everything you could possibly need in it, right? There's no way to plan for where you are going. I did not set out to become Jeff Walker's head copywriter. When Abby introduced me to Jeff, I probably got an in because I had no idea who he was. And so I wasn't really starstruck. I was just like, okay, like any other client, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to point out some things that I think could use work. And everybody after that is like, how did you not know who this internet superstar? Well, I mean, not everybody knows who he is now when I talk about him, right? So you don't have to know this next step. I fell into copywriting by accident after getting laid off. And somehow 10 years later, without a grand master plan, this is where I'm at. Okay, so next step, just focus on the next step. Because once you take the next step, the results of that will tell you what your next step is going to be. And
So
that
true.
is how you look back 10 years and go, what the fuck? How did I get here? I do that just about every day because I just got done with band rehearsal with John Carlton and I'm like, I just still don't know what's happening.
Right,
there.
what she's not telling you is after she sang so amazing the first year, when she was going to talk tonight, Kevin's like, well, you know now every single person who's singing wants Angie on backup, so I'm not sure when we can actually let her go because she did such an amazing job.
I got 6 songs added, mostly because of Paris's sore throat. He wants me to
Oh,
back
God,
him.
yeah,
I
I'm
got
sure.
6 songs added to my set list. No big deal. I got to learn those tonight. Might be drunk tomorrow when you see me. All right. So another thing that I want to point out to you when you're taking inventory is that you have more assets and resources at your disposal than you know. And I did learn this from Jeff because one of the first exercises that he takes his clients through is assets, like identifying your assets. And I want to take a look around. There's like 40 different people in this room. It's your network, right?
These
Between
are all your assets. Everybody in
all
here.
of these smiling faces here, you probably can solve every possible copy-related, career-related, family-related problem that you could possibly think of.
Yep.
Melanie helped me leave an abusive partner and move across the country. Carolyn helped me deal with trauma from abuse. Abby helped me move to a high-level client. Rachel and Allison, well, you helped me find food. But that is also a problem that is in desperate need of solving. You have a network. You have resources, right? Turn to your tribe. That is how you deal with these things, right? Because as special as you are, and I love to tell my coaching students that the reason why you can say the same thing that somebody else has, it's been said a million times before, is because the way you say it, your unique filter, connects with someone in a way that they never got before. So they've heard it 100 times, but then the way you said it was suddenly the way, oh, I finally get it, right? But that said, you're not as unique as you think, right? Because like I said, those problems that we've encountered, someone else has encountered them before. And it might not be exactly the same. But, I volunteer for a domestic crisis intervention center. I'm not the only one that's escaped an abusive relationship, right? I'm not the only one that's had to start over, right? The situation's not the same, but there's someone there that identifies with me. They know those feelings. They know those steps to take. They can recommend me some next steps, right? And we're focused on the next step so that we can combat that overwhelm. All right? And you don't get any brownie points for doing it all by yourself. Like, there's no trophy at the end. There's no big, what is the Stanley Cup? You don't get a Stanley Cup for yeah,
For doing it
bitches,
solo.
I did it all by myself. I didn't need any of you, ever.
No.
The fact is that I was self-taught for probably 5 or so years, and it was a struggle. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't have any outside perspective. I didn't have any guidance. And do you know how much farther, how much faster I could have gone if I had just reached out and said, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can someone help me?
Yeah.
There's power in vulnerability. And I think that's what a lot of the dude folks don't necessarily get, right? I don't want to say that about all dudes, because there's some sensitive guys out there, right? But there's power in vulnerability. There's power in empathy. So don't be a martyr for the cause. You can be a strong woman and still ask for help, okay? All right, so I want you to focus on making fear your friend, right? Here's a little bit of a reframe. Whenever you're feeling that intense fear, that useless fear, I'm safe in my bed at night, but I'm panicking, oh my God. It's usually an indication that something really big is on the horizon.
Oh, wow.
Every time I have made a massive leap in my career, in my family, in my success, in my income, revenue, anything like that, it has been immediately preceded by the most intense fear of my life. And some of this super group has heard me freak out about everything. Before you think I have all my shit together, let's go through the last meltdown I had, which was asking for a raise. I'd been on the team for 2 years. My responsibilities had changed significantly. I went from just a copywriter to leading a team. I had added multiple 6 figures with just email suggestions. Accomplished a lot. Why aren't they offering me a raise? Because I didn't ask for it. And they're getting a good deal as long as I don't ask for it. So then I psych myself up of what if they say no? Then I'm going to have to leave. And again, getting myself worked up over no reason. When I asked, she said, yep, you're right. It's about time we had that talk. And I got a 5-figure raise.
Awesome.
for it. Don't psych yourself out. The worst that they can say no is no. And if they come back to you with a dick response, that tells you more. That gives you more information about how you need to proceed. Someone comes back to you and goes, how dare you ask for a raise? Like, how dare you respond to me that way? We need to rethink this relationship, okay? And so the final thing I want to leave you with is that everything you want is on the other side of that fear, okay? Embrace it. Recognize it for what it is. Turn to your tribe. Use your assets. And face it head on with your head held high.
Thank you.